Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Sure that you can hear and see our guest who's participating from Atlanta, Georgia. We'll introduce him shortly. So listenvisionlive.com and anybody on our social media feeds, if you're on listenvisionlive.com, please let us know if you can see our guests and see us. Well, my name is Dr. Sharon Cradle, and I am the oldest of this dynamic duo.
And I am Sherelle Higgins. And when I tell you I am feeling myself today, I am feeling myself today. Not only am I the favorite of this dynamic duo, but I feel like I'm the cutest today. I am working with something, y'all. I'm feeling myself today. So this is going to be a great show.
Today.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. I done lost a few pounds doing intermittent fasting and carrying on.
Go ahead.
And trying to get my blood sugar under control. And it's about to be on and popping, so just stay tuned.
Yes, and I'm so glad Sherelle talked about that, because no matter what we do in this world, nothing is more important than your health.
That's
so make
right.
a commitment to do something daily to take care of your health.
Absolutely.
And those of you who follow me, you know I'm a little radical. I love kickbox. I do quite a few things. So just something to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and just push back from the table a little bit. You know, eat in moderation, get some sleep, drink some water, reduce your stress, because that's one of the things we want to talk about today. Some stress-induced, some food-induced autoimmune deficiencies. And so before we get started, I want to make a few announcements. As you all very well know, my 5th annual Women Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference is coming up on March the 28th, 2020, and the early bird ticket price goes off sale on November the 30th. But I also want to shout out some men. There have been some men stepping up saying, we want to purchase tickets for some women, and guess what? That's exactly what has happened. So men, you can support by just purchasing some tickets, and we'll make sure that the women who cannot afford the tickets can participate. So we really appreciate you, love you, and those of you, you know who you are, and your name will be highlighted in the journal. So get your tickets before the early bird rate ends on November the 30th. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the man of my life, Ira O. Cradle.
Go, brother.
You all don't know, this brother is a brother of perseverance.
Yes.
Ira has been working on pursuing his doctoral degree for the last 7 years.
Ugh.
And he just got word the other day that he will be able to defend his doctoral degree.
Do it, brother-in-law.
The first week in December.
Yes.
And so y'all already know we're going to have a party.
Yes, do it, brother-in-law.
2 doctors in the house. It's just going to be amazing.
Doctor.
And the other thing, he is going to be ordained as a reverend on December the 14th at our church, New Chapel Baptist Church.
Say the word.
Yeah, so
get
just
your gold card.
And, I just think that just serves as a model that you can do whatever you want to do. It's never too late.
Absolutely.
When God is in the midst and you are dedicated to what you set out to do, you can make it happen. So I'm just so proud of him.
Absolutely. And I want to say that I am going to be your MC at the women's conference. And with me losing a couple of pounds, I'm going to be bringing my A game on my outfits. So I'm just telling you, you don't want to miss that because during the conference I do an outfit change,
Yes,
and
she
I might do
does.
2 outfit changes this year because I'm gonna be about 10 pounds lighter,
Yeah.
which makes a huge difference, right? So you're gonna want to be there, and if you are not gonna be there, you want to send somebody there to
Exactly, to
represent you
represent.
so that they can get the fulfillment that we offer to women and also the love that we generate in that room.
Yes. So please, women, we have to do something for ourselves to take care of ourselves, and you
Absolutely.
will not be disappointed at this conference. And those of you who've made it possible the last 5 years, just bless you. And I know
Yes.
that you've been a blessing to others. And so, and then lastly, my girl Diane Pierce is the first person to always purchase a ticket to the
Thank you,
conference
Diane
every year
Pierce.
for 5 years. And guess what? She did her initial sermon this morning at 8 o'clock.
Oh,
And so I was there to support her, and I'm just so proud of her. And she was talking about, be a blessing to people.
yes.
That's what we're here for.
Yes,
And
that's what we're here for.
she truly has been a blessing to all of us.
And as you talk about being a blessing to people, let me just shout out George. George is one of my BFFs.
Yes, he
is a
is.
blessing to me.
Yes.
And he told me, I shot him a text message the other day and told him I lost a couple of pounds, and that for CIAA I was gonna be bringing my A game in terms of my outfit. And he told me good because I had been dressing like a grandma.
Well, I can hear George saying that. I truly can hear him saying
Even though
it.
I don't really believe that, and just because last year he wore a kilt and he was killing
Yes,
the
he
game,
did.
that don't mean that my outfit wasn't good.
Look.
But that's okay. I love me some George, and he is my brother in my heart. And we just kick it like that. I love you, George.
Yeah. And any brother that can wear a kilt and rock
Yes.
it like George rocked it,
Yes.
it was, yeah.
When we stepped up in that party at CIAA, when I tell you that people stopped what they were
Yeah,
doing to take
yeah.
his picture,
Yeah,
and people
he-
thought we were a couple, and so they were coming up to me, women were coming up to me asking me if it was okay to take his picture, and I was like, I'm cool with that, right? And then even this guy came up to me, he was like, my wife really want to take a picture with him. I was like, okay, but after a while I got tired. I was like, okay, that's enough. We gotta go. And so we stepped off, but I'm gonna tell you, George
was
is my
rocking it.
love.
He
He
was
he
rocking
rocked
it.
that kilt, and I don't know how he gonna outdo that next year.
Just being George.
Yes.
That's all right. So today's scripture, and it's so appropriate for what we're going to talk about today, is 1 Corinthians 13, 11. And it says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child.
Yes.
I understood as a child. I
Yes.
thought as a child.
Yes.
But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
Put it away.
For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. And I'm going to
Yes.
tell you something. This brother that we're about to introduce you all to, I talked to him. You all know I always prepare. And I was
Yes, she
so
does.
pumped up after talking to this gentleman. And I'm going to introduce you. He is on listenvisionlive.com on Skype so that you all can see him.
Yes.
His name is Mr. Perry Whaley.
Yes.
Yay, let's welcome him.
Yes.
Yay, Perry.
All right.
Welcome,
Yes,
Perry.
yes. And Perry is calling in from Atlanta, Skyping in from Atlanta.
Yes.
And our topic today is the vitiligo man of action.
Yes.
And
Wow.
he had to help me make sure I pronounce that word right.
Right.
Yes. And so, Perry, thank you so much for wanting to be a part of the show, for wanting to come on and tell your story, because what I walked away with and what we know for sure is that what we see, and we talk about this all the time, the iceberg, what you
Yes.
see is just a part of somebody's story.
Yes.
It's everything that's underneath that story or underneath that iceberg that makes the man Perry Whaley who he is today. So Perry, please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them, where you're from and what you're doing.
Well, my Perry Whaley. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. A lot of people don't know that. Brooklyn, New York. Currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. Have 2 children, Brandon and Ayana, and I've been in Atlanta for about 19 years now. Been in the automobile industry for like 30 years, and the rest is history at this point.
Okay.
Now I'm the vitiligo man of action.
Yes, he the vitiligo man of action.
Right.
The Superman
Yes.
of
Yes.
action. Yes, yes.
Yes.
And this is going to be an important
Yes.
conversation because we have all
Mm-hmm.
probably seen somebody with vitiligo,
Vitiligo.
Yes.
and we have not necessarily understood
Right.
what it is,
Mm-hmm.
how it happens,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a cure or not. So we're gonna have a very interesting conversation around that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say that Perry is a Virginia State alum,
Yes, he is.
and so
Virginia State in the
everywhere we go,
house.
it's a Virginia State alum,
VSU.
y'all.
VSU.
V
Yes.
S U.
You,
I
I
love
love
it.
it,
I
I
love
love
it.
it,
I
I
I
love it.
love
love
I
it.
it.
love
We
it.
got to do that for the Howard people in the studio, y'all. And so, I can
Yes.
tell you that I met Perry my freshman year. I'm going to go ahead and put the story out here before he does. I met Perry my freshman year. He called me roommate because this was before I met Jim, y'all. We gonna go ahead and put
Make
that
sure you
out
say
there.
that,
Right, I gotta
yeah.
put that out there first. I was dating Perry's roommate, Double G, and so Perry and I connected on that level. And he called me roommate because I think I must have been in his room a lot. I'm not really sure about that part, right? But that's debatable. But he is a Virginia State alum, and we are more than excited to have him on the show and to kind of educate us on what vitiligo
Ligo.
is and how you get it and what's life like to have it and walk this earth. Now, usually Sharon is our researcher and she does a lot of research and writes her notes
I
down.
got him
I
right
did my
here.
research on this as well,
Good.
but I didn't write anything down because I have a great memory. So
Uh,
we're gonna go ahead and just kick this show off and let Perry tell us what it is and when it started to show for him.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna use the word autoimmune
yes.
Okay.
deficiency. It's no other explanation other than that. Loss of melanin in your skin, autoimmune deficiency is that your body's your cells are like fighting each other against each other to connect, and where you see the white patches is
Mm-hmm.
where it's not connecting, and then
Okay.
that's I mean, right now that's the benefit of me being on the show because there is no answers at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Okay.
research, but not concrete enough to make a difference. Like we can make something happen for you. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. So we're gonna use the word autoimmune
Okay.
as our subject, and then we can any questions you want to go from there. We can make it happen from there in terms of
So I
information. But
like that
autoimmune.
explanation. I like the explanation that
Yes.
you just gave, Perry, because that made it real clear. So we all know, or if you don't know, an autoimmune disease is the vitiligo. Is caused by it could be caused by food, it can be caused by stress, and it's considered autoimmune because, as Perry explained to me, like the Center for Disease Control, they give money to certain diseases that are contagious.
Mm.
Well, with vitiligo, that is not the case because it's not contagious, right?
Okay.
And so they
Right.
don't really know. It's not a lot of research money dollars put into that particular disease
Mm.
because it's nothing that's contagious. And that was an aha moment for me, to be very honest with you, that I learned a little bit more about what the CDC does, but also that you had an overactive thyroid. So start there, kind of start with, when you started to notice the blotches. And anybody who still don't know what we're talking about, think Michael Jackson.
Right.
Because when we were talking, I said, is that the same, disease or disorder that Michael Jackson had? And it surely was, where there was discoloration of the skin. So start with
Well, I'm gonna start it off real easy. 1984 is when kind of like I met you ladies, or at least seen you. At this point in time, there was no talk about vitiligo. We
Okay.
never knew anything about it. All right. Years later, let's play forward. Years later, in 1989, 1990, 91, I was under a duress situation. I
Mm.
mean, I was incarcerated. I was
Mm.
yes.
incarcerated, and this is when the vitiligo occurred in 1991. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
in 91 to 2001, nobody in society had saw me except for those people who would come visit me in my incarceration.
Okay.
Okay. So from high school to college, never had any kind of vitiligo sightings, so never knew anything about living with it. And then upon incarceration, this thing occurred to me, uh, vitiligo, and I was devastated because I was changing and didn't know anything, and no one had any information at this point. So when you're incarcerated, you don't get medical treatment like you should. So I'm thinking water. I'm thinking the food they gave me, um, and I know I was in tip-top shape at the point because you have plenty of time at that time to work out and things of that nature. So it was just, and I wasn't under any major stress from my understanding. So stress, hereditary, those are the things they say trigger. Can cause it, and no one in my family had it. So why God? Now my question is, God, why am I having this occurrence in my life?
Mm-hmm.
I had no answer. Nobody could answer. So I reached out to Tyler, Texas, where there was the only research center. They sent me a pamphlet and said, Perry, this is vitiligo. And Sharon, like you said, autoimmune. They
Yes.
throw the word at me. I had to think about the word because I hadn't used it, don't know what it really meant. Looked it up and found out what autoimmune was and knew that at that point I was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
For me, because I
interesting.
was in the automobile industry prior to coming into incarceration.
Yes.
So now, for 10 years, I'm figuring, will I have a career when I get out?
Mm.
Will a woman ever want to look at me visually in the face again? Those were
Mm.
my immature thoughts at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are now, years later. And wait till we get to the juicy part. So I'm going to
Yes.
let you all come
So
back
you
in
were
on this.
25. You were 25 when you started noticing the symptoms, right?
Right, right.
Okay. And what prompted you to do research instead of just saying, well, I don't know what it is and they don't know what it is, so I'm just going to just go with it?
A good, great question. The reason I started researching because a very dear friend of mine named Marlene Smith, she had vitiligo all her life, and she lived in our neighborhood. And I watched her parents take her all around the country to try to get help, and there was never any help.
Wow.
So she was the first. She helped me really more than she knew. Helped me to identify with it. But now I got this. I don't want this, but I was a little bit different, and at the time because I had already had my confidence built up in me, so I wasn't letting vitiligo kill me. It got me, but I wasn't letting it kill me. So I was already confident enough to move on from that. And I researched it and found out there was no cure. Oh boy, life is gonna change for you now. Cause you couldn't tell me that I didn't have no look on me. I felt like I was the most fascinating guy in America at one time,
I love it.
and
Ain't nothing
and
like some
and and
confidence.
that kind
Yeah.
of hurt me to believe that in the industry that I was in, it
Yeah.
was made off of looks and kind of appearance. And now we're talking 1% of all the world who acquire this disorder. And now I had to deal with Caucasian, Mexicans, and would they shake my hand in a
Mm.
car deal?
Mm.
And would a woman say hello to me now? And those things ran through my mind. That's where the depression, the mental health could have come in, and
Right.
the substance abuse could have come in as well.
Exactly, and when I was actually doing my research on this topic, a couple things stood out to me. One is this could be hereditary, and two is that they said that women who have vitiligo is not likely to get married. And so I
Mm.
thought that was really interesting
Mm.
because I knew, Perry, that you were married. And so I was just kind of wondering, like, how did that develop for you? Because I think your story will give other people hope.
And before you go there, I want to make sure because I see a lot of people popping in on social media. We're going to ask you all to go to listenvisionlive.com because our guest is participating via Skype from Atlanta. And if you have any questions, you can call in, of course, 833-202-TALK. I'm sorry, Perry.
Well, for me personally, I had went into a small depression, so really I had kind of pulled back from socializing. Even at work, I wasn't as vocal as I was. Okay, because of the vitiligo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go back for a second. There was an incident in the visiting room where this young lady walked by me and she said, mm. you're an attractive man.
All
But
right now,
at
shucks, shucks
at
now.
this time, I wasn't feeling that way because I hadn't seen people in the outside. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody, all I saw was guys and people in the behind the wall, and so I had no dealings with people to critique me, so to speak. So when she said that that day, that was the turning point for me. And at the
Okay.
time, my wife uh, always encouraged me that you're beautiful, but they say that anyway. But you needed that reassurance from
Mm-hmm.
somebody outside of her, and she said it. And then when she said that, I was like off and running. I went back and told my guys, and there was this young lady in the living room said I was fine. You know what I mean? And I
All
told them,
right now. Ain't
you
nothing
know,
like a
so
compliment.
somebody on the outside of y'all talking about me and behind the wall said that I look good.
That's
So
Mm-hmm.
right.
now it helped me start researching and finding out there is no cure. Now what you gonna do? So
Mm-hmm.
for 10 years I had time to pray God again. Why me? Why me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry with God because I love a platform, but I ain't asked for this one, God.
And
I did
listen, so
not
you were
ask for this.
chosen,
I like
exactly.
attention.
Yeah,
Didn't
the
ask for this.
chosen one.
Yeah.
So we dealt with that from the incarceration aspect, and that one day of you're a nice looking gentleman created more
Wow.
confidence than I could ever have.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And let me tell you, I started the show with my girl Diane Pierce, who did her initial sermon today. And she said, when we talk about being a blessing to others,
Mm.
we always think that it's monetary. She said, but no, you can give somebody an encouraging word and change their life. And so
Yes.
what you just talked about is this young lady, she helped to change your mindset just by giving you that compliment. How awesome was that? And
Yes.
That
that
was
you were
crazy.
in a
It was
position to receive it.
yes, it was great. I mean, right now I wish I could see her and say, "This is what you've done.
Wow.
Mm.
This is what you've created."
Exactly. And so let's give the audience some context because some of the things that you talked about is when you went through your medical history, with the doctors, you had an overactive thyroid. Can you talk about that and maybe some connection to that?
Well, let me just share with you. I was in I was eating no fried foods. We were on a very strict diet when you're in because when you ate 3 meals, you rested and you worked out. I was in tremendous shape.
Mm.
So I was jogging and I would get these palpitations. Never knew the word even palpitation. What is that?
Mm.
At this point in time, because my heart was beating real fast. And then when I went to medical, they shared with me they took me some blood, and then they come back with overactive thyroid. Didn't know anything about that, so once again, I had to go look that up. And then they found out that that was a collaboration kind of with what vitiligo. It was a part of vitiligo as well. People who had vitiligo, a lot of people have that overactive or underactive thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I was getting fatigue, so mine was overactive, and I
Overactive.
was getting fatigue.
Right. And so, one of the things that Perry talked about, if you all are listening closely, is that when he started his story, he said he was under duress, a lot of stress.
Mm.
And those of you who do not believe that stress is a major factor in a lot of our health,
Mm-hmm.
onset of a lot of our health situations and experiences, then you need to think again. And I tell this story because I remember years ago when I couldn't get out of the bed,
Mm.
and I was in tip top shape, like Perry just said. And when I finally was able to get to the hospital because this pain was so excruciating, they ran a series of tests, and they were like, "There's nothing wrong with you." And then this doctor asked that one question. He said, "Are you under a lot of stress?"
Mm.
And ever since that day, I have managed my stress because I realized that stress can take you out of here. It can
Yes.
cause all kinds of ailments. And
Yes.
so, those of you who are listening to Perry and listening to us, try to manage the stress. Find ways to manage that stress. And that's why I want to lead into Perry. Once you found out, what was going on with you and you shifted your mindset, what did you begin to do to manage your stress, to manage your life, to manage the entire situation?
Well,
What,
before Perry answer that question, let me just say this about stress. We all deal with stress differently, right? I'm the type of person who I manage stress internally. which is not necessarily a good thing. I don't necessarily talk about it, and sometimes I don't even recognize how stressed I am because I don't talk about it until I remove myself from the situation, and then I realize how much stress I was carrying. And so, one of the things that I'm going to work on is how to deal better with the stress that I carry, and being more vocal about it, because most people look at me and think I'm a strong black woman and life is really easy and I got all of the answers, and sometimes I carry myself that way, but that's not necessarily the situation.
Yes,
And
yes.
I've seen on Facebook and on social media platforms that strong women need support too. And
Absolutely.
so every time I see that meme, it just resonate in my soul. And so as we talk about stress and ways to deal with stress and some of the consequences of not dealing with stress, we will turn it over to Perry to talk about the stress that he dealt with and how it manifests itself.
Well, for me, stress was the workout. The workout. When you're incarcerated, the stress is working out, reading, and studying. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Those are things that we tend to do to get the stress off you. And like I said, I was putting in a lot of hours in working out at that point,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel stressed after I was given the time. It was just try to make it to get home. It was and being incarcerated, it's a journey from the
Mm-hmm.
time you walk in to the time you walk out that door, because you could not make it out the door. You know
Mm-hmm.
what
Oh,
I'm saying?
yes.
And I had 18 years and did 10 of 18 years,
Oh
and that was
wow.
stressful enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
I had just come from college. I wasn't somebody that was, considered a criminal at that time. I thought, but now you're in this place. Is and you're stuck for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
of your life and not knowing if you're going to make it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm.
that can become stressful because now you're not around people who care. You're around people who exist.
Right.
Like,
Mm.
they don't care; they exist.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, working out was my stress reliever.
Mm-hmm. But I would assume just before you got to being incarcerated that there were some stressors, right, that
Well,
led to you doing whatever it was that you did to
End
get
up
the
being
yeah
incarcerated.
to get the
but
sentence.
you know what I'm gonna say too? I'm gonna say that drugs and alcohol could have been a trigger in my immune system as
Mm.
well,
Oh,
because you
okay.
wasn't eating. And when you do a long period of time of drugs and alcohol, you're gonna have a breakdown in your body, chemistry at some point, and
Mm-hmm.
not know it until you go for those physical. And then they say, well, your blood sugar's down, because when you're having fun or doing or being addicted to whatever situation, you don't even care about those situations. More or
Mm.
less, think it's triggering the vitiligo to occur. And now with autoimmune, when we look at it, that could have been some of
Some
the
of it too.
the it could have been
Mm-hmm.
borderline. And when you were doing your drug, you said, okay, boom, you're now vitiligo is triggered.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no one in your family history that you are aware of who had vitiligo.
None, nobody. I've
Wow.
never knew anything about vitiligo at
Okay.
all,
Okay.
except for the friend of the family. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So
And
now you know.
so let
Now I
me
know.
let me just say this for those of you who are on our Facebook feed. I just like to say in plain terms what vitiligo is, so that when you see it, you'll recognize it and you can connect it to this conversation.
Hmm.
It is a discoloration of our pigment, and as we have come through life, I'm sure we have seen
Yes.
instances where people have had this color patching to their skin, and it happens to all people, but it's probably just more prominent in African Americans because we tend to have
Melanin.
darker
Right.
skin and
Melanin.
the melanin that's in our skin.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so we see people who have these discolored or white patches of their skin, and we may not necessarily know what it is, or what makes it, what causes it, or how the people live their lives. And so this is the discussion that we're having right now.
Right. And so let me ask you, your children have vitiligo?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Is that something you can test for?
Uh, Not to my knowledge
Okay.
at this point. No, no.
And so why have Perry on the show? And those of you who are just jumping on social media, please go to listenvisionlive.com so you can see Perry via Skype. But why have Perry? Because when you talk to Perry, he's being a little calm right now. But
Yeah, I'm being
Perry
calm.
is passionate. He is living his best life. He refused to allow this disease to sit him down. So that's what we're going to transition to. So now we have a foundation in terms of what it is and who this man is. So let's talk about Perry now that he has realized that this is what he has, because you said something to me powerful. You know, my husband always tell me words matter to me because they do, and I listen very intently to what people say and what they mean. What you said was, once you really realized that, okay, this is going to be a part of who I am, you started this journey of searching for others who looked like you so that you
Yep.
can be in a tribe, so you can belong. Talk about that, because that's
Yeah.
just powerful, because I believe that that's what all of us are on a
Right.
journey to do, belong. So,
Well, I'm gonna tell you, mine was incredible. First of all, we come from Virginia State University where we're always having a good time.
yes.
So
Yes.
I was at this amazing event at in Atlanta called Wind Down Wednesday. It was a
Okay.
young lady. She walked by me and she said, "Mm, you're a nice looking brother again." And I said, "All these fine dudes out here, you mean you chose me?"
Wow.
Mm.
Wow, that's incredible. But little did she know I had an S on my chest saying she didn't know how incredible of a guy I
I
was.
know that's right.
Okay,
Yes,
so I'm
claim
taking
it.
this confidence again because I'm in the car
That
business.
confidence.
Once again, I'm talking to people, and I'm this kind of creative person. Okay, went there. Her daughter had vitiligo. She introduced me
Oh.
to an organization called Vitiligo Bond.
Okay.
Now, that's what her approach was to me. And then after that, I was with that organization for 4 years, helping them. I had found my journey of wanting to share. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then after 4 years of hanging out with these people and being a part of their organization, I didn't want anything else. God gave me an opportunity to share His message with the
Mm.
world, His
Okay.
light with the world through me, who has
Yes.
this big voice and energy level at
Yes.
150 at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And now the platform begins, the emergence of vitiligo man of action.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's when it started. Right then, I had already started building it 4 years prior to that, meeting with congressmen, taking pictures with celebrities. Because what I found out is I couldn't get men to come to meetings. You
Mm.
know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get them. So I said, you know what? Since I can't get them to come, I'm gonna rely on myself. So that's when I named my organization the Vitiligo Man of Action,
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
I could get the job done. I'm in the automobile industry, so I talk to people every day, and every day I was getting the responses I was looking. Well, we don't see your vitiligo. Why don't you? Because of your confidence. Is that
Mm.
it? Wow. And it was
Yes.
kept going and going and going. And now my job was to market my organization. And by marketing it, I had to be a socialite. So now, when you see me in
Mm.
pictures with celebrities, that was identifying with who I really am. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is me daily. When you see me, I am out. I'm interacting all day, and that's how people have been attracted to my movement, is by my confidence and by the energy in which they see me, Sharon, like I told you, the way they see me wear my vitiligo.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Well, you
I
know,
Yes.
wear
you
it well. I wear it well.
you say some powerful things,
Yes.
particularly about confidence,
Yes.
because one of the things I know about confidence is a double-edged sword, right? Some
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
people come are attracted to you because of your confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
some people want to use your confidence against you and want to
Yes.
try to strip you of your confidence.
Yes.
And so I've been going through something recently where somebody is trying to strip me of my confidence, but it won't
Yeah.
happen.
Mm-mm.
It
Mm-mm.
just won't happen. Confidence is very attractive, and
Mm-hmm.
more people are attracted to you because of your confidence, because they want to have that confidence, and they don't know how you have been able to achieve that level of confidence. So hearing you say, Perry, that you have this confidence, even though you have this autoimmune disease that a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't show up with their confidence with, is I applaud you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important because what he said when we were talking was when he goes and he speaks at women's events.
Mm-hmm.
He tells women, you all come looking beautiful, right? You wear your makeup, you have your clothes on. But when I show up in confidence. And,
Yes.
and are you really here
Yes.
showing your confidence and your authenticity? Because that's what it's about. And how many people can say that they are living their life authentically
Right.
who they are? And that's why I was so drawn to the conversation with Perry, because I know one of the things about just human beings, we are some judgmental people.
Yes.
Right? And Perry asked me this question on the phone. He said, so what if he and I were friends, and I had been telling my friends about him but never told my friends about his autoimmune disease, and then Perry shows up in the group, and I said, the Sharon that I've been knowing for a while would be just fine with that. And I would tell them, some of them don't have a man. We just go there, right? And stop being so judgmental and start looking at people at their heart.
Right.
And start looking at, who they're showing up. And I truly believe that if that was the situation, that I wouldn't have to say anything because of your confidence and how you show up, Perry. Where did that confidence come from? Where you get that confidence from?
Well, like I said, I've been in the automobile industry.
No, before the automobile industry, it had to come from somewhere.
Yes.
Tell me about your family. Who? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say, I had some uncles. I had some uncles that were cool, and my dad was cool. You know what I mean? So I would attribute that to the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And my
that's
father.
awesome.
So they were cool, and if I had to say, I would say my father was the coolest because he was the oldest and he was the quietest until he got his party game on. You know what I'm saying? Once he got his party game on, he would come home Friday. You take your toothbrush, you put it in soap water, you put a little salt in it, and you clean your derby off, and you get it clean. You polish your shoes before you go out, and my mother be like,
Right.
well, he brought the money home, so he deserved to go out there.
Exactly.
And he
Okay,
was,
wait a
and
minute,
he
hold
was
on.
good.
Wait a minute,
So-
hold on. Let's not brush over that part, ladies. He just said his father brought the money home. That's important, fellas. That's on the line. Bring your money home. Okay, go ahead, Perry. Finish that.
And I would say, I would say that my uncles and my father, because they were sharp looking guys, and right to this day, they still have that credibility of the Bill Boys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I carried on that legacy as well.
Okay.
So what are you doing? What does your organization do? And talk to them, because you talked about taking photos with celebrities, and you mentioned some celebrities. I don't know if it's appropriate to say who they are unless they've already said that they have this. So what is it that your organization is doing?
Well, first of all, my organization, it started out with mere awareness. We wanted to bring awareness to the world about vitiligo. And in the bigger picture, it started to becoming with the mental health issue, self-confidence, empowerment, all those things that people in our community lack. Also, suicide had become something very serious. Bullying had become something very serious with our community. So if we brought the awareness to the schools, that means people who really do the bullying are teenagers and high schoolers. Now we're going to try to bring out those people who are undercover in a lot of other areas to come out and say, because I saw him, I want to share with you about what I'm going through. And that's how the organization grew. And it was like, I sat at my computer one night, I filed this proclamation, and I got 2 proclamations, and then they were like off and running. And the man said, you know what? People come to me all the time about wanting us to help them. Let's see what you're going to do.
Right.
And that's been 7 years later, and we're still in the game. You know what I'm saying? And we're doing things, and we're doing awareness, and we're 24/7. We're being visible so that you can see that vitiligo, what it looks like. So I am a walking billboard. I tell my car dealership every time, why spend money on marketing when you have a top performer who's performing in your market and everybody knows him? You know what I mean? All you have to do is put me on the billboard. Oh, he worked there? Let me go stop by and say hi.
Right.
Now we got a reason to sell you a car. You know what I mean? But that my organization is about empowerment, and and what we do now is we have a mentorship programs,
Yes.
and it's really the word empowerment is what we do. We inspire and we empower not only people with vitiligo, but my daughter had to endure
Yeah.
what I went
Yes.
through. So I had to start off early educating her through her school. So every school she went to, I made sure I spoke there so she wouldn't be harassed, so she
Okay.
wouldn't be bullied. And guess what happened afterwards? The kids started wanting to wear my shirts.
Yeah.
They
T-shirts.
started, they made her feel like her dad was a superstar or a celebrity. They
Exactly.
wanted me to come back and speak at their schools because now everybody was being empowered by this look. And now, when Winnie Harlow, people see her as being beautiful. She is, but she's not really talking about it. We're in the trenches talking about it right now. We're saving families millions and millions of dollars going to talk to a psychiatrist who has no answer for
For
this.
them.
Mm-hmm.
They have no answer because they're
Wow.
not living with it. So now I'm the expert in this field.
I know that's right.
I love
Come
it.
see me. you know
Yes.
Because you
and
live with
that's what has
it.
been happening,
Yes.
and that's how my business has
I
evolved.
love it.
It evolved that way.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit, because time is
Yeah.
rolling
We
by.
already talked to. We may have to do a two-parter.
Yeah, so let's talk about being married,
Yes. The
because like I said
relationships.
earlier, the statistic is that a lot of women who have this autoimmune disease, they have trouble finding and being able to be in relationships. So let's talk about you being able to find that one that you not only were able to jive with, but you proposed to, and she is the one who said yes.
Now that's a very interesting story.
Okay.
Okay, because for everybody it's going to be different. But if you ask me about marriage, that was the easy part for me
Okay.
because I didn't have a lot of problem attracting women. Even with vitiligo, because in Atlanta, I would say 12 to 1, like in college. You got
Yeah.
those odds, and then I was a successful car salesman, so I never had those problems too much. But it was internal for me that I had those problems that inside of me, that it was me, not you. I didn't think I was worthy enough to talk to you,
Mm.
beautiful women. And little did I know, once again, your confidence was less than mine.
Right.
Yeah, because
So now,
women got
then
some
once
issues
I
with
once I
confidence.
identified with my strengths of my vitiligo, it was on. You couldn't stop me, and I was just challenging myself just to see if I could go. If I saw four women at a table, I just said hello, how y'all doing, and it was like a response because I knew I was different. And remember I told you early on, it was that confidence of a smile that you had before
Yes.
or something. I knew I still had that, and I just wanted to see if it would work with a different color,
Okay.
and it did. And marriage for me, it was easy because I never stopped being who I was, so I could my articulation. I'm gonna use like Ti. My articulation with different words with women, and what I would do on a day that made me different than anybody else in the club on a Friday when everybody was before they start, and I walk in the club, all women got roses with no
Oh.
obligation
Okay.
Oh. Oh.
to ice
Player,
break. To
player.
ice break, to
Yeah,
ice
fellas,
break,
if y'all
to
All
ice.
listening,
right
player,
now.
player.
Look,
That's a
I
player
don't want to
move
talk
right
to you
there.
anymore. I don't want to talk to you anymore. But you can have that and go home to your significant other
Oh
Okay.
wow.
because there was no obligation. I just want to let you know that
I
I'm loving
see you.
myself, and I think that you ladies were needed to
Awesome.
have that to break the ice for another conversation with anybody that looks different.
Wow.
Wow. Yes, I love it.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, so why such a public um job? Because you are, a car salesman. So why did you gravitate towards selling vehicles, knowing that you had this disease and you were going to be dealing with people all day, because that's such a public job. And before
Yes.
you answer that question, I want to let everybody know on my social media feed that I finally lost connection. So hopefully you all are on listenvisionlive.com.
And I lost connection as well. So
Yeah.
yes, please be on listenvisionlive.com.
Live.com.
Hey, Dr. Avis.
Okay, so
Well,
why such a
I was
public
well
job?
before I left school. I was in the automobile industry in the summertime.
Okay.
So I had already, not knowing what it would be a career for me, but let me just say what we all go into our jobs for. It was at the time it was a very lucrative business, and it still is. So that's why, and it's one that where you can make a great living, a
Okay.
great living. People talk about six figures. That's a job you could do that, and a lot of people didn't really realize that it was like that, but those people did. Those people did, and it was most people who came out of college. You had to have 2 years college education to even get in the business. When I got in 1987,
And so you've been in it since 1987. You
yes.
shared with me that you're a top performer. Tell people what that means. And then you also talked about that you have two proclamations in two cities.
Okay, top performer. I got to tell you that. In 1987, I received my first award for Salesman of the Month, not knowing anything. I just sold cars. I still have the plaque today to kind of identify with. And from that point on, I've never not been an achiever in the business. Like to today, selling 20 cars or more a month makes you a top
Okay.
salesman. Make
Wow.
it, hold on. I want to make it clear because I want to recruit you in the business. Make $100,000 a year, you can come see me, and I can legitimately tell you how to do that. Okay,
Yes,
if
yes.
you aspire to make that much in your regular jobs, ladies and gentlemen, undecided about what you want to do, come see me and I help you.
And where did the proclamations come from, and why?
The proclamations came from a lot of hard work, of being in the streets, beating the streets, and meeting with Congress people here in Atlanta, and they saw that I was serious about spreading the awareness of vitiligo, and they thought that it would be ideal to give back to my organization and the work that I had put in, because it's 365 days in a year. I have not stopped on Instagram, Facebook. I've been at every conference. I've been at every meeting. I work 12 hours a day, and I still get the job done on the awareness part. And they saw this. So now they started chiming in on my Facebook page. They had me on broadcasters like yours, on Sisters and Company. They had me on television shows. They had me on national radio shows. And this is how I built my empire. In my empire, I said my empire because I wanted a $1 billion organization, and I wanted to follow Susan G. Coleman. Breast
Yes.
cancer awareness,
Breast cancer
because I
awareness.
could be
Yes.
immune to cancer because my skin is so light.
Oh. Oh,
And
interesting.
see, those people could be my partners. I could go down to that and say, "Hey, I'm immune to cancer, skin cancer, and let's talk about it." You know what I'm saying? And
So
they can't deny it.
let me ask you this: you we know that people have all kind of cosmetic surgeries, and people do all kind of things to alter their present state because they don't like it or whatever it may be. And I know that there was a lot of talk, and going back to Michael Jackson, that perhaps he was doing something to alter his skin color or to make it lighter. Did you ever try to do anything when you first was diagnosed to try to alter what was happening with your skin discoloration?
Yes, I wore makeup. I
Oh,
wore
you
makeup
did.
for a little while. For a little
Okay.
while, I tried it. I said, "Man, let me try to put that makeup on." Put the makeup on. That didn't work. I did the sun tanning. I put the instant tanning lotion on. Thought it would work. It turned me orange.
So,
So
so you was looking like Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, just like
Stop
Donald Trump.
it.
So
Stop
I
it.
understand.
Watch out!
But
Watch out! Our company was looking like Trump.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he wasn't the first
So
orange man.
I didn't like that process.
Yeah.
So that's when I started being who I was, and, and,
Okay.
and taking it real serious about, there is no cure. You got to live with it. So the empowerment part was my strength. That was my strength.
Are you still married?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No,
I was
no.
about to say because I was a little confused. I wanted to come.
Okay.
I wanted to circle back.
No, I'm not
Okay.
married anymore. No, no.
Okay, so
I'm in a happy relationship though.
okay,
Okay.
well,
All
wonderful.
right.
So you still have found love, right, in your
Oh,
relationship?
hold up. Love. I can find love in all the right places.
Okay.
Uh-oh. I hope she ain't listening to you in the
Oh,
background
you
while
about to be in
while
trouble.
you treading on light
Well,
on, on shallow
She
waters.
right. Well,
she's right here
put her
listening.
on. Put her on screen.
Come on over. Come on over. Hurry up now. Come on
we
now.
we we about to mess up your happy home.
This is Miss Kelly Reagan, my partner.
Hi,
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 Kelly. How
Kelly.
are you? Can
I'm
you
good.
talk
Thank
to
you.
us really quickly
What a
about what it's like to be dating a man who has vitiligo?
Let me tell you, you all know Perry is very special.
Yes, in more ways than one. Go ahead, girl.
But as I was sitting and listening, the one thing that I really wanted to point out was I heard him before I saw him.
Oh,
Okay.
So
okay.
we met about almost 5 years ago at the car dealership,
Bring her in the
and I
camera.
Yeah.
heard his
Hey,
voice.
Perry, move over a little bit so we can see her.
Yeah,
there you go.
She's beautiful.
Yes. Go ahead, girl.
Thank you. But I heard his voice before I even saw him, and he caught my attention immediately. And I remember saying, "Who is that guy?" He had a big old mouth. We know that, right?
Yeah.
Right,
And-
right.
but I turned around to see who it was, and then I saw his face, and then I was like, good for him. Because I felt the confidence
Uh-huh.
immediately. It was the confidence that got my attention because it was through his voice.
Wow.
And then, it actually took us about a month to like really meet face to face, but I fell in love with his spirit and, the entrepreneur piece and all of that. We connected on that level first. And we were friends for a very long time. And God had his way later. So
Wow. And see, that's what I'm saying. When we talk about relationships and who you fall in love with,
Yes.
all these rules and this whole list of things we got, sometimes you just have to just, do away with that and just follow your heart. And
Oh,
that's a grown woman right there, Perry.
Yes.
That's a grown woman. I mean, seriously. And somebody who's confident in herself.
That's exactly right. So let me ask you this. Tell me your name again.
I'm Kelly.
Kelly. So have you experienced any people in your life being judgmental because he has this autoimmune disease and asking you like, why him? Like, how do you, handle that?
The people in my circle, no, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
See?
That has a
Very
lot
good.
to do with who I surround myself with.
Okay, very good.
So I'm grateful that my circle of friends are strong-minded and they have the mindset that is bigger than that.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
They're
That's
not
great.
superficial.
And Kelly, do you
Exactly.
have kids?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you have children?
I have two adult daughters, and they absolutely love Perry.
Okay.
They come, he comes in and they fixing plates. I'm like,
Yeah, she's
yeah, he's
people
well loved
Perry.
in my family.
Perry, Perry, get on one knee. Stop that playing.
We good. Look, we good.
She said
We're
You ain't
patient.
good, Jack.
But we're enjoying each other and we're enjoying life.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing because I think it's just so important,
Yes.
as we grow and we start to find our purpose in life, it's just bigger than that. I like what you said. It's bigger than what somebody looks like.
Yes.
Right? And you
It's-
fell in love with his spirit and his confidence and what he was doing with his life. And you all just came together, and that's a beautiful story.
And it's more important to focus on how somebody treats you and less about what they look like.
Exactly.
My mama,
Because we're all going to change.
yes, my mama used to say,
Exactly.
I ain't saying this is it, right? But I'm just saying, my mama used to say, you only need to worry about what they look like if you plan on having a baby. I'm just saying that for me, as a mother, it's more important how people treat my children than what they look like.
Exactly.
Amen.
That's it. And so, Perry, we only have 2 minutes left. So what is it that you want to share with our audience? Thank you so much, Kelly.
Yes.
Share with our audience before we sign off.
All I want to say is that right now we're continuing our efforts at awareness. We're doing a bullying campaign here in Atlanta called the 100 times 100. And that's about it. We're doing some great things. And in March the 22nd of 2020, we'll be having my third annual Vitiligo March Madness Awareness Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
And last year we had out maybe about 1,000 people come out.
Oh,
This year
wow.
we're gonna have. This year we're looking to have 100 vendors. You know what I mean? So all I can say is it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big, bigger and better this year.
And
And then
so,
we have a women's and youth empowerment
yeah, that's.
every year in August. In
Mhm.
August, so Kelly Cares and Vitiligo Man of Action, we come together and we have a big event. So empowerment, stop the bullying campaigns, and we're doing two major events a year. We already calendared for, and we're doing rallies at schools. We got 56 schools in Atlanta. So
That's awesome.
empowerment is it's all about empowerment, and the
Yes.
rest is history.
Yes,
Yes.
our VSU family is just doing the thing
Yes,
all
we
over the
are.
world.
I love
But
it.
if people wanted to donate, tell us how we can get in contact with you, and then we're gonna sign off.
Well, they could go to vitiligo moa@gmail.com. That's PayPal. Or they can go to Cash App $ vitiligo MOA.
Okay, and MOA is Man of Action, so that you know what the MOA is. That'll kind of help you remember. So, Perry, we'd
Yes.
like to thank you
Thank
and
you.
Kelly for being on the show, kind of,
yes.
broadening our awareness and educating us on what this is and what it's like to live with it. So,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank y'all for having me.
Enjoy the rest-
VSU.
Yes,
Yes,
enjoy the rest of
Trojans
the
in the
afternoon.
house.
That was
That's
very
right.
good.
That's right. We doing it
Yes.
big.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we
Yes.
will hope we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we will be back next Sunday.
Yes, we will.
Safe travels.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Yes, that was good.
Facebook Live. Thank y'all for.
Woman, thou art great. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show.